All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Spring Legion podcast. My name's Hunter Ferrier, and I'm joining you today alongside Chase Ferrier and Austin Seals. And for the next hour or so, we're going to be talking about the wild turkey, as well as those who hunt them. And we're going to jump right into today's episode, and it's one that I've been looking forward to getting to because it was a lot of fun, pretty much point blank. It is one we're going to be talking about. We were in Mississippi, which we are all native to, and the hunt itself we uploaded kind of on a whim. It was the first time we tried doing this, uploading just a full hunt on our YouTube channel, and it received a lot of feedback, a lot of views, and a lot of traction it gained, and so it did well, I guess, so to speak, if you want to call it that. But I think more than anything, it was relatable to a lot of folks who like hunting in the river bottoms and the wide open early season down here in the South, and it was, like I said, it was one of my favorite hunts of all time. It is something that I've only seen a handful of times, probably only once. It definitely takes the cake as far as gobbling activity and vocalizations of wild turkeys go. It's one that I encourage everybody to go watch, even if you've seen the condensed version, the edited version of the hunt and how it went down and all the pre-hunt, post-hunt stuff. The actual just press play and let it ride version, I think, is about an hour long. We uploaded it when March 2023. So somewhere in there you'll see it in the Mississippi Delta. It's really cool just to hear a bunch of jakes, a bunch of hens, and a bunch of gobbles, and all killing aside. It's a really cool video of just natural spring woods. And we're going to kind of dive into it. And this is particularly why I wanted to do this podcast, to kind of correlate with some of these videos and some of the hunts we've talked about, because this is a really good example of three different people. It was us three plus our buddy Buchanan, who we had just met that morning about, I don't know, a few hours before. Good friends with him now. We had met up and went hunting, and all four of us are sitting on different trees, kind of facing different directions and whatnot. And a good example of kind of, they couldn't see what I could see and I couldn't see what they could see. And so we're going to be able to explain some of our mindset and why stuff happened, particularly on the calling side, because I was kind of really going off of this whole kind of, really just calling for a turkey's curiosity's sake, or lack of calling as well, more than calling, honestly, because what I could see was different than what they could see, like I said. So this was a really good example of when I've mentioned in the past, there's a whole chapter in Ballad of Turkey Hunter about curiosity versus persuasion. I think there's two different ways you can get a turkey to come into shotgun range. One of them is curiosity, and kind of when you hunt in Mississippi in some of these thicker areas where there's something that you're going to have to call a turkey around or call a turkey over or into, you really want to, or I would rather base my kind of strategy over intriguing that turkey into walking over here to check it out, more than talking him into leaving his current situation into coming over here into my situation. So this was a really good example of that as far as timing goes on the calling. But I didn't know until after the hunt that they were both sitting there, gritting their teeth and wondering why I haven't called yet, why nobody's called yet, what's going on. So we'll just dive right into the story to kind of give you all a really roundabout idea of how everything went down. See, correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of correlated everything with Buchanan going into it, right?
Yeah, we started talking back in, I guess it was around December of 2022. I had posted a story of some deer chasing up at the place we had money, and he messaged me on Instagram and just, what's the deer doing in your area and all that. So we got to talking back and forth and sending pictures through Instagram of deer we had on camera and, turkeys that were there in their winter flocks. And got to talk and exchange phone numbers, and that's kind of how it started.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, to this day, I still talk to him, probably every other day or so, back and forth, just him sending pictures of deer they got chasing, or he sent me a picture the other day of, a group of, I don't know, 8 or 10 jakes. That, you're just showing the hat, talking about the hatches. He had a good hatch, the whole 9 yards. But that's how it all started. We just got to talking on Instagram, and then he invited us up, and we went and met him that morning. Yes, an hour and a half before daylight at a gas station.
Yep.
And went on from there.
And he's a fiery guy. Like he gets into it. He loves hunting.
Yeah.
He loves conservation. He's all about it. He gets excited. It's fun to be around, fun to hunt with. I want to say Chase. So this was the second day of the Mississippi season, right? I believe.
Yes.
Yep. So the 16th of March. So Chase had just killed one on the opening morning in March, on the 15th of March, on some public land down in south part of Mississippi, or south central Mississippi. And then, and I'm still in Georgia at this point. I had kind of a little bit of plans and maybe coming over for the weekend. I saw that Chase killed that, and it really got me pumped up, and I hated that I wasn't here to kind of be part of that and everything. Also, beginning of mid-March is really busy for Spring Legion order-wise and everything, and I had about 80% of the inventory in Georgia, so I was filling a lot of the orders, doing all that stuff. The second book, Any Given Spring Morning, had just released. There was a bunch of, inventory stuff going in and out that I was dealing with, and Georgia doesn't open until April. But this was, I don't think it definitely wasn't the first opener I'd missed in Mississippi. I'd missed several kind of in the past few years, just based on logistics and not being around. But I was getting pretty bummed, so I did decide kind of really knock out all the orders, head down, and I got to your house, Seals, I think at like 11 o'clock or something.
Around midnight.
And then Chase met us over there because we called Chase. Yeah. I think you were kind of planning on going anyway, Craig?
Well, I think it was it just me and Seals were planning on going at first?
Yeah, because we weren't sure on you. Me and Chase were going.
We were going. And I think I was up to shoot or something, and then I killed Mississippi, and it just everything changed 100% or something like that.
So.
And so we ended up, when I killed, it was, just Seals was planning to shoot, and I was going to film, and then it was like, heck, come on.
Come watch.
Yeah. And it just all worked out where we ended up getting all three to hunt together for maybe the first time ever. All three of us.
Second time ever.
Yeah, second
time. We killed
the
turkey on the 360 the
last
prior day.
year. Yeah. So,
So one day of actual turkey season separated us hunting together, but it felt like eternity.
It really was, yeah.
But no, it was really cool. So we hopped in the truck that morning. I do remember getting there, and I didn't even, I had a box of just stuff I shifted into your truck, and then we hauled Bud up to the Delta. And this time, I'm from Mississippi, but I've always kind of had in my mind there's no turkeys in the Delta, which the Delta is a huge region. It could be anywhere.
Right.
I don't even know what part we were in. I just know it took us a good while to get there.
Yeah.
And it was black. It was dark riding up there, so I don't even know if we were in the real flat parts or whatever. We were obviously in trees and river bottoms where we were at. But now we met up with Buchanan. It was I can't remember the name of the place, but it was a little juke joint looking thing we parked at, and he pulls up, and we're kind of wondering, we're like, I don't know, I hope this is the right area. I hope this is, cause we're kind of in a podunk kind of part of the town, which is, they're kind of everywhere around that area. So you can kind of, it's hit or miss, and a lot of stuff would have been named, whatever this was named. Cause, did he say he was there or was on the way or something? Somehow or another, I remember us getting confused, and I was sitting there thinking, oh, Lord, we have messed up. We're in the different,
2 hours away.
Right, because they could have been anywhere. And sure enough, here comes Buchanan rolling up. We follow him on the end. And then I didn't know until I was kind of rewatching some stuff the other day, editing the condensed version of the video, that I forgot we kind of went up and kind of scoped it out, had a camp house and stuff and whatnot. And he'd hunted this area before for I don't know how long, but
I think all his life.
Yeah, I mean he was familiar with it, and he's a steward of conservation, and he does like turkey hunting. He's kind of one of those things. I'm sure he does like duck hunting, deer hunting, but dude likes turkey hunting, and it was pretty evident from the start. And one of those shaking hands, we're like, yeah, we're gonna be friends, kind of deal.
Right.
But yeah, so we hop on in, and I'm still, y'all have gotten y'all stuff together, I'm sure, because y'all hunted the morning before at least, or listened or something. I hadn't even taken my vest out of the box from last time we hunted, which was, I think, was Michigan in 22. You know, so I'm sitting here going like, I have no idea what I have, because I wasn't planning on hunting until kind of April, because I had a baby on the way and everything like that. Or just, excuse me, did I just have a baby? Yeah.
You were about to. No, you just had one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Just had one on the 1st. So 2 weeks in, so I was like, all right, I'll make a quick trip. That's what it was. So I just went into the garage, found my boxes, threw them in my truck. And so I'm like, I mean, I can be prepared and not prepared at the same time. So I wasn't prepared, but I still had some sandpaper in there, and at least my mouthballs were there.
I remember me and Chase sitting in the truck with Buchanan, what felt like 30 minutes, waiting on you to get your stuff. And I know Chase finally got out and just said, Hunter, come on.
Yeah, get in the truck. Come on.
My God. I had to find my boots. I had to find everything, my face mask, obviously, and stuff. And I'm pretty sure I wore a couple extras that I had in that little kind of tote-along bag that I keep extras and stuff. And I'm thinking, what? Because I rarely wind up with as much as I had at the end of the season that I had at the beginning. Lo and behold, that's all you need at the end, obviously, but somewhere in between, I've lost a lot.
Yes.
But regardless, so we hop on in here and take off and go with Buchanan. He's telling us. I'm sure he's telling y'all a lot, because I think I'm in the back. I'm kind of like the kid in the back, kind of just here to watch. I feel like, at least. And then, and I know Seals has been talking to him about a little bit of a game plan, but I'm really out of the loop. But we pull up, and it was kind of surreal, because 12 hours before that, or not 12 hours.
12 hours. I remember you left. I remember you left Georgia because you texted. It was like 6:12. Me and Chase were like, "There's no way he's gonna get here in time."
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't planning on hunting 12 hours before, and so I'm about to hear turkeys gobbling. I'm like, kind of, ecstatic. I'm like, man, this is a lot to take in.
Right.
I hadn't even heard one at this point because we've been so busy. I might have listened a couple times in Georgia, but they don't get fired up near as soon as down here in Mississippi. But no, we pulled up, and I remember y'all were ahead of me walking down kind of a little trail, and I'm going around trying to get my stuff together, and I'm like, I'm good to go. I got everything, kind of got that relief. Like, I got 2 gloves and a mask, and I think there's some shell. Yep, there's a shell right there. We're good. And I don't have a red dot or anything I got to worry about. I don't, my sling was there, which if it wasn't, I'd be all right, and that's about all it took. And I remember, I think we were walking when I heard a gobble, and I remember, that kind of first gobble of the year moment. But then we kind of started heading on down. And it's pretty dark. I don't know what time it would have been, but it's pretty dark. And we're listening. Somebody hoots. Y'all remember who hooted?
I think Chase hooted.
Yeah, me or Buchanan. I can't remember. But I think me and Buchanan both were hooting in between walking down that road, that first road.
And then we heard one gobble. Then we started hearing some more gobbles, and there was gobbles everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never in my life heard this many gobbles. I mean, me and Zill's gotten some cool places off the Big Black, stuff like that, where there's a good bit of turkeys. Yeah. Whether or not they're across the river, across this creek or whatever, we can hunt them or not. A lot of them we could, but in addition to the ones we were able to hunt, we could also hear some on other pieces of property that just, we've heard, I would say I've heard really mornings, I'd say up to 14 different turkeys. For sure, and that's a whole lot. Right. Mississippi. Most mornings, I'm glad if I hear 2, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's just like what we could. I remember the hunt you're talking about. That's just what we could for sure say.
Yeah,
that's a different turkey.
That's 5 times as much as I'd heard on a good morning before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pumped for 1 turkey. This is awesome for 2 turkeys, and anything after that, I'm like, y'all sure we're at the right place. So to hear this, and I really have no idea how many turkeys we were hearing, because it was wide open, so everything's echoing, and it just got crazy. But before that, I don't want to hop in straight into all that, kind of the pre-roost stuff. But y'all remember there was some hens or something we were trying not to bump it eventually, because we started hearing some, I don't know if it was wing flaps or some little tree yelps and stuff kind of around us, and then one behind us. So we'd already walked under some. Buchanan didn't seem nervous that we had done that. So, he kind of had an idea that kind of where the water started, where the water might have stopped, where, you know, what's high, what's low, because what they call a ridge ain't what we call a ridge.
I was going to hit that too. I remember Buchanan kept saying that, you know, just right over that ridge. And I remember one time he looked at me and said, "Where's a ridge?"
Yeah,
because we're, you know, what we call a ridge is a 60-foot drop off
right
on the other side,
and a gully kind of, you know, they'll get down in there, and he's talking about like a molehill, like a just a bump, you know. But up there, I'm sure that's a ridge, you know.
Right.
But I mean, in terms of logistics of a wildlife, if they walk on top of a ridge, I've seen them a lot of times, like out west in some of these, you know, ag fields. It'll be just a bump, and you can almost guarantee you if anything's coming out, it's coming out on that bump.
right?
It's a ridge to them, but no, we slip in there, and then I remember you mentioning on the on one of the part of the video I heard the other day, you were telling Buchanan that, you know, I'm just going to warn you, but Hunter likes to stop and just stand still and like, kind of shock for a little while.
Right.
And I was in the middle of it because I had to make myself not fall victim to analysis paralysis sometimes, because it'll get bad, because I'm sitting here thinking I would much rather one turkey gobble and I can set up on him and do all that. When you get two, I start kind of algorithms start going off like this was gobbling more, this was not. You know, I kind of have to remind myself. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, mentioned one day, you know, hunt the turkey that's gobbling. You know, don't make it hard. If one's gobbling a lot, hunt that one. I never hunted a spot where there's a lot of turkeys gobbling a lot.
Right.
And none of them were close, which is the odd thing. So it's
they
not
were
like we're set up on a turkey at all from the roost. There wasn't a spot to set up. It was don't bump these hens, or do. I don't know what. I never saw them really. I don't know where they wound up how they got over us, but I don't think we bumped. Never heard putts and flying or anything. Did y'all?
No, but what was different up there, it being a flat, open river bottom, you could hear a lot further.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'd hunted in lower Mississippi, it was more dense and stuff. And like the day before, I was like, dang, that, you know, I walked up into some turkeys thinking I was a lot closer to them or a lot further away from them or something, and it was because of the foliage or whatever on the trees. And up there, it had been flooded for a long time at some point, and I think we were thrown off of how far these turkeys were, how close they were, with the hens walking in, yelping. Like I don't know if we walked under them or just close enough
to them
that it was a little loud of an earshot, you know, kind of thing.
Could have been.
But we got by them clean, I believe.
I think.
We got by them clean.
I don't remember bumping them, but I was kind of also, my mind was drifted straight towards those gobbles.
But I will say too, that comes with like us kind of knowing each other, because without anybody saying anything, when we started hearing that, it was kind of cool watching it, where Buchanan, which shows he knows what he's doing, he kind of did the same thing. So he peeled to where he had the back cover, and all three of us just kind of filed in to where, you know, kind of all on the same page. We got the back cover, we making it, if they're in front of us, they just see one shadow, whatever. So it was kind of cool watching everything just unfolded when it hit.
Yeah. As soon as we heard one, everybody kind of drifted. You know, what he means by that is kind of if we were on I guess it was a road. It was like a
little four-wheeler trail.
Right, a trail kind of deal. But it's pretty open, so it's not really going through much. You can veer off at any point, and it's a pretty clean shot to get into the bottom. We're in the bottom. We're not – I don't know how far back it goes necessarily, but you can tell it's been flooded recently. It's clean. It's got that gray light tint, you know, whitish, you know, film over all the leaves and everything, you know what I'm talking about, with just some buds coming up here and there. This is early season, mid-March. Pretty cold, I'd say. I mean, it's good 42-ish. It's chilly. Crisp. It was a good opening few days in Mississippi. I remember that, thinking, being real jealous I wasn't there for the opener, because I know it was brisk, it was cold, the wind wasn't high. And I do think this day and then maybe the next day was about just the same. But kind of going back to those gobbles, I don't know really where they were. It was almost hard to tell, because it was very, very open, and it was very evenly open. It never really got thicker. It got thicker a little bit, you know, I'd say, I thought maybe 100 yards further than where we stopped and decided to take a left. We kind of just picked the left because the hens were on our right. And a lot of times I'd like to be in that spot. If I can get around them, or if I've already walked through them and didn't bump them, you're in a good spot. You got hens behind you and gobblers in front of you. they're gonna meet, and you want to be in the middle of them.
Right.
You know, if you can help it. And there's only a finite few days where they're not roosting together and stuff. If you can time that right, that's a sweet spot to be.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you kind of steer from that point. You can steer the gobblers or the hens, and if you don't steer at all, you're kind of in a good spot for them to meet up at. But now I remember finally, I think me and you kind of made a plan. Seals was going to shoot, and I was going to sit to the left because he could kind of face down that little trail we were hunting. There's gobblers in front of us. There's also some to the left, and I was hearing some behind us and to the right, and it's just, I mean, they're distant and they're all connecting to each other, and it's hard to pinpoint any of them. It's I don't know if it was so many or if it was just so much echoing. It was just a lot to take in, which is something that I never really experienced at that point. Good problem to have, I guess.
Oh yeah.
But now we sit down, and so our reasoning behind that was so seals could shoot, straight forward. So he kind of sat a little bit, put the road on our right, so he could shoot anything that came down this road or to the road, and then on down straight in front of us where a lot of the gobblers were and a lot of the other hens we were hearing were. And I sat kind of down on the left, and I could see the bottom a little better. And then the turkeys are kind of, if I'm facing straight toward the bottom, they're to my right, kind of in front of seals.
We kind of split the turkeys where we knew that, the turkeys were between me and Hunter. And if they came left, Hunter had them. If they came right, I would have them.
So I was pretty much a continuation of Seals' swing. That's how we like to set up. If Seals sets up facing a little to the right of where we think a turkey would show up, then he can swing, shoot that, and then a little bit to the left. And then about right there is where I can kind of pick up the range and go, swing all the way to my left.
You pretty much were able to cover 180
almost
degrees.
at that, yeah. And we also had Buchanan who had a gun, and Chase had his gun, and we were kind of there to kill turkey, if we could safely, and however we, wherever they came, we were all right. But the intentions were for Seals to shoot one. A lot happened in between then and the shot part. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of y'all chime in whenever y'all remember something, but.
Well, y'all were what, 20 yards apart?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the road ran kind of in front of both of y'all. Is that right?
It ran to my right.
Right.
Okay.
Where I could shoot. So
I never saw the road.
So to my right was the road, and if you go, I don't know, probably 60 yards, there was another road that it teed into. And Hunter, I was set up here where I could shoot that road if they came down it. Hunter was set where he could shoot the left, and we kind of made a triangle. You were kind of split the difference between us. We're kind of behind us.
Yeah, y'all about 20 yards apart, straight on my right shoulder and straight on my left shoulder, and Buchanan was straight off my, kind of behind my left shoulder.
Right. So, and then to start out the hunt, I guess you want to jump into that.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and I guess at one point, and I know we all had calls, and I can't remember exactly who was calling at what time, but somebody called, and I was looking at, like, turkeys popped up.
Right, you skipped the whole lot there.
Yeah.
That's in the good part. No, we sat down, and I didn't call for a long time at the beginning because, just the vocalization of these hens and gobblers got going back and forth, and it was awesome. I mean, they were like, there was a bunch of hens in front of us, and there was a bunch of gobblers. They were gobbling back at them. You could tell some were Jake's caulking and stuff. They're all in the trees at this point, and I mean, y'all remember that, like 30 seconds where it just didn't stop? It was like a roar.
Yeah.
Of just like, rah, 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 and then just gobbling. And then, so I'm sitting here, and I've got my slate call out, and I'm just like, I'm like, there's not even a break to call in. I'm like, do I just like, kind of like, trying to go pee on a house fire? I mean, I'm like, what am I going to do? Just like throw my hat in the ring here? But let them go back and forth, and it kind of died down for a little bit. And I still don't think they were on the ground yet. They were still in the trees. I bet if I had to, I remember thinking, I said they're flying towards each other because I could tell, like, I could pick out certain notes, certain frequencies of a certain hen or something, and it would move, but it still sounded like it was on the roost. And I bet you they were flying. I bet you they were over water. If I had to guess.
I'm 100% sure they were over water. Looking at it on the map.
Really?
Yeah.
So I still hadn't even looked at a map of where we were at.
There was a little horseshoe oxbow, and I guarantee you every one of them were over that. Like you said, find it. Because looking at the map, I would guess, like, obviously to the left, they weren't over water, but if you were looking right out in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
water started probably 80 yards.
Really?
So, I mean, they were
Oh, yeah, they were definitely over
they
water.
were a good piece
They were
over
definitely
water.
over 80 yards, yeah.
Right. So,
yeah.
So and you could just almost hear the echoing, but they were moving, and I'm like, they have to be flying from limb to limb. We'll never know, but I bet you they were.
oh, yeah, it had to be.
And there's a bunch of gobblers, but there was not a lot of gobblers over here with the hens, and there was not a lot of hens over here with the gobbles.
Right.
So they were definitely separate. And then they wind up, kind of moving around, and then there were some breaks in there. I could do a tree yelp or two. They'd respond. Those hens would respond. I might have gotten into some long, hard yelps here and there after they. Usually, I only hear like one assembly yelp kind of per morning, if that. But I mean, there was some hens going at it, yelp, and I started doing it, and they answer and yada yada. And then I kind of stopped. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait until it's. How are we gonna talk a turkey off of literally what sounds like 100 hens? And jakes, and everything like that. This is a congregation of turkeys right here. This is not like a flock or a group or a lek or whatever you want to call them, like a drove. This is a county's worth.
Right.
I feel like, and for the turkeys we saw, it was not. So I don't know where half of these turkeys went, but I know for a fact we didn't see half of them because
I agree.
we wind up seeing a little group of them, and that's the ones we wind up calling and working to. But up until then, I didn't call until I found a break too. But yeah, no, they went crazy before we touched a call.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and then they answered, but at the same time, like what are we to them? There's so much
to the
going
point,
on.
Are they answering
Right.
us, or are they just still?
Oh yeah, like
in
they could have
their
been.
roar
If
of
nobody would have
gobbles,
called,
yeah.
would they have kept gobbling kind
Right.
of deal? But no, then. What Seals was, I bet what you were getting at, we did call a little bit once they were on the ground, knew they were on the ground, hit it a couple times, responded. Kind of the same thing. Like I don't want them to not know we're here. At least
Right.
we're not going to not going to do anything if they just think we're just trees blended in. So did call a little bit, and then that's when you were talking about.
Yeah, that's when, like, the first turkeys we saw, I guess is what I was getting to, that somebody was calling. It wasn't me, obviously, but it was somebody. I think it was Buchanan behind me, and this goes to what you were saying. Everybody had a different viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Somebody was calling, and all I could say was stop. I mean, I was looking at 3 male turkeys, which and I could tell, the heads, they were males, but they ended up being jakes. But he's right in front of me, and they ended up coming down in front of you.
Right.
And that was
real close, yeah.
When they did that, you're talking about gritting our teeth. Because at the time, I didn't know it was jakes. I just knew it was males.
Right.
And I saw them come down, and I saw them come in front of you.
And they were like 10 yards in front of me.
I know, and I was sitting there like, what?
Why are we
on
not
earth
yet? Yeah.
are we doing? And then
then
it turned out to be jakes.
Well, from I was far enough away from them, I couldn't tell what they were, but they looked a little smaller bodied to me. I mean, I assumed they were doing that caulking and yelping and stuff. Was that right?
It might not have started.
It may have been later,
They
but
hadn't started that.
I couldn't decide if they were jakes or hens at one point.
Oh yeah,
just because I was hearing so much going on at one time, I couldn't,
that was
dedicate.
later on.
Yeah, was that hens yelping over there? Or was that jakes yelping?
Well,
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
See, they were right over that little ridge we were talking about, and all I could see was the head color. I couldn't see body size. I couldn't see nothing. And then when they came in front, I was like,
and I'm also watching through the viewfinder. 99% of
Chase
the time.
is filming this.
So I'm sitting here like, hey, got to be a longbeard about to pop up at the back of this, because they were like in a line at one point, just popping over a little knoll to me. But Seals probably saw him.
Oh yeah,
10 minutes.
I heard
Seals
say something. I didn't know what it was, and it made me look over there, and I kind of just saw his head kind of get down on his gun a little bit. So I knew he'd seen something. And I do want to say, I think that there wasn't a lot of gobbling going on when. Like it had just stopped, kind of like you could tell, like when they fly down, when it stops, there's a period there where everybody just stop looking
just
around.
Kind of a dead
What's
zone,
what's up? Everybody,
getting their bearings right.
Right, yeah, just kind of feeling everything out. So this was during that moment, and you knew they're on the ground. Anything you did hear, once or twice, you knew was on the ground. So everything's on the ground now. They're figuring it out. They're moving. But that's the suspenseful part that I like. Like I don't know where they're moving. They could all they might have picked our call. Who knows? It's fun to think that until you figure out they did or didn't. But it was pretty quiet at that point. We hadn't called in a while, within immediate while. But then I saw those coming up that you said something and made me look, and then so I'm kind of faced this way, and they're coming up right here, and like you said, I can just see the heads. I'm like, all right, here we go. And they got closer and closer and closer, and I'm like, like they had the big old eyeballs, and makes, little heads, big eyeballs. Neck started about right there, which it was cold, so it could have been a lot of things. Later on in the year, there was multiple opportunities I could have killed a longbeard that I thought I waited to see a beard look like a longbeard's head, but I was like, I'm gonna wait, and it winds up being a longbeard. But I would rather do that than shoot and find out when you're standing over that it was a Jake.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's illegal to shoot a Jake in Mississippi, so definitely got to check for a longbeard in Mississippi. But they kept coming. I started getting a little I don't, I think that might be. And then they stepped down. I was like, yep. But they did come very, very close to me. I'm talking 10, 15 yards right in front of me. Being Jake's kind of looking around like, what's that gun barrel doing here? Kind of, and kept walking. They're not, they got opportunity to get educated.
Right.
But they come in and they start scratching pretty close to me. I'd say 20 yards from me, but kind of working behind me.
Yeah.
And that's when they started. They were caulking. It was really cool. You videoed a lot of it. It was cool to see them in their natural habitat. The gobbles and hens, and I think more Jakes. Kind of the vocalizations ensued. Probably 200 yards down to seals in my left. Wouldn't you say, seals?
Yeah.
They went. They all gravitated to the left, which now was in front of me, and then now to my left. So now the seals is really left. And these Jakes are in the bottom. This bottom connects to that bottom. So I'm thinking, good spot.
Yeah.
I think this is the bottom they're picking at least. It's not like they're going opposite of us or, in around in us and coming back on the other side or something. So I'm pretty confident that we're in a decent spot here. There's not much opportunity to move as open as these woods are. But let them, I was like, I'm going to let these Jakes do what they're going to do. They were sitting there scratching, popping each other with their wings, doing Jake things.
Yeah, they were playing all around there at one point or a few points. They would jump up, and it was cool to watch. Just I think they were kind of past y'all's view, and only I could see them at that point, or maybe being Buchanan. Y'all may have seen it. I don't know. I never really asked y'all.
I couldn't hardly see anything, but I could hear them.
Right.
So I was trying, at this point, they were really not even to my left. They were kind of back over my left shoulder.
Right, almost behind you.
And I could hear them, but I was trying my hardest just to not move.
Right.
Because I couldn't, when you see one, when you can move. Right. Yeah. When you're not looking at them, you don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So I pretty much, and I remember, man, it got miserable because when I turned to put my head down on the barrel when I saw them, I kind of had to shift my hips. And when I did, I jabbed a root in the back of my leg. And once they got by me, obviously I couldn't move.
Yeah.
So this whole hour hunt, I'm sitting there with a root up my leg. But yeah.
How long were we sitting on those same trees, you think, total? I mean, it was a long time.
It felt like a day and a half.
It really
did.
But,
I mean, we filmed it all. I mean, when you press record, we hadn't sat down, and when you ended recording, the video is only like an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. See, I was thinking we sat there.
Or you might have cut it off a couple times. I don't know, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, I know I had to change batteries a few times and
I would
stuff
have
like
guessed
that.
about an hour.
At least an hour.
But
without moving.
It felt like a season and a half's worth of like stuff happened in
Right.
an hour. But at the same time, nothing happened at all. Because, I mean, they were working their way towards this bottom, and I knew that, I kind of knew they were working this way. I'm in a bind now because, I mean, I think both of y'all on the same page that I was going to be calling regardless of who's shooting. Seal, I mean, because Chase had the camera. Seals was supposed to be shooting. I had a gun. We all had guns, but I was going to do the calling just to kind of get us, on the same page. Buchanan didn't know that. And I didn't know really who was Buchanan, who was Chase, who was Seals. I knew where Seals was because he's the only person that kind of, we talked before we sat down.
Yeah.
Buchanan was going to sit behind us, and you were going to sit behind us, and that's all I knew. And then y'all discussed where that was.
Right.
I can hear some calling. I can hear, like, someone moving behind me. I still don't really know who's who or anything like that. I think for the longest time I thought Buchanan was you.
Right.
And so I think you're filming all this stuff in the bottom that, come to find out, Buchanan couldn't see either.
Right.
So it wouldn't have mattered. But I start seeing the turkeys after a while. They're still gobbling. They're probably 200, like I said, 200 yards out in the bottom. And I'll see a couple flashes. And I'm trying to keep an eye on these Jakes because what I don't want to do is call those jakes back over here to come look up and, you know, put their nose on my gun barrel and spook
Right.
and then keep those from coming or anything like that. So I know these are jakes. The whole time we're assuming everybody's on the same page, and none of us are on the same page about any of it. Coming to find out, you know, in hindsight. But so I don't want to call these jakes over here for the longest time. They kind of work far enough where I'm okay with, you know, if they can get equal distance or so, then this flock of turkeys, then I don't mind calling. But I don't want to draw their attention any more than it has to be.
Right.
Because they are minding their own business, doing turkey things. I'm kind of caught up in that, watching these what look like just dots, but I can tell it's turkeys strutting here and there, and I just see, you know, clips of them way out there. Don't have binoculars or nothing looking at them. And you can hear the hens, and I think it's more jakes out there, and it's just rah, 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 and then hammer and hammer and hammer and hammer. But and then hollows, you know, it's like pow, pow, and just over and over and over again. Just the echoes were awesome, and especially when there's no leaves on the trees, it just you know, you almost feel it. I could tell it was more than one,
Right.
which, you know, we knew that from the get go. There's a lot of turkeys in here. It seemed like.
If we did break one off, we would probably break a few off at some point.
And I kept looking back at these jakes too, making sure one didn't break off and join them. Because I'm like, all right, is it 3 or 4 jakes? I don't remember.
I think it was 3.
I thought it was 3, and I looked up and there was 4 turkeys.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you
it
know,
was 4 or
one
5.
slipped in. Oh yeah, more jakes slipped in somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I never saw a longbeard with them. But I know one of them was it mitosis. Somehow or another, a couple more just appeared.
Yeah.
Or joined them somehow. They might have came from the other direction, something like that. I don't know. But it wound up being at like 4 or 5, and I think I only saw 3 walk in front of us.
Yeah, I know for a fact the first ones that walked by were 3.
Yes, that's what I thought too. But there was 4 or 5 jakes back there by the end of it. I don't know where they came from, but I do remember kind of keeping an eye on there, make sure a longbeard didn't just like walk up or whatever. Wouldn't be as a cool hunt if one just happened to walk up next to us, but I'm not, you know, too discriminatory towards that. If a longbeard just walks up kind of where you're aiming anyway.
Let's see, I couldn't see behind me either. The jakes were to my left, and I had like that little roll we were on. I couldn't see around some briars or something.
There was some thick stuff.
And there had been a turkey gobbling back there that morning, and after what had happened to me the morning before in Mississippi, which that's all I'm going to say on that, I was looking behind me quite a bit. And, you know, I was expecting one to slip in silent, and you know, I kept hearing a gobble somewhere back there, 200 yards, and I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
Well, and I was kind of the same as you, Chase. You know, I couldn't move, but I also didn't really want to move because all the turkeys, you know, they weren't just in one area. So I was trying to stay here, right where I was pointing, because I mean, one could have popped up. There too.
Yeah.
There's no real clear game plan at the time when I first saw those. How in the world am I going to get this flock of what looks like 30 turkeys into just picking these 3, you know, this one hen or whatever. But what wound up coming to my mind, and this was the explanation I was talking about, was when I had this is just my theory of things. There is such thing as curiosity versus persuasion kind of in the turkey woods. And I want to say my dad hit on it a long time when I was younger, and I just kind of let that seed build and build and build and just really paid attention to it as I got older and experienced more and busted more and shot more and all, you know, everything you can think of in turkey woods, that, you know, utilizing your terrain to call a turkey curiosity more than persuading a turkey is regionally different among, you know, kind of situations. Most of our situations are going to be towards the curiosity just based off of just the terrain part. Meaning there's a bunch of stumps, there's a bunch of push piles, there's a bunch of thickets, there's a bunch of, you know, things that turkeys have to walk around and walk over and walk through and stuff like that just to get a look at whatever's happening. A lot of calling will kind of not necessarily, it'll kind of make him shut up and peek, you know, way out there, or kind of let him know, you know, something's off maybe if a turkey's not moving. But the terrain allows you to move around a lot. We're kind of not able to do that right now.
Right.
Because we're in the wide open and there's 4 of us. And that's a lot harder to do with 2 people than it is 1 person, much less 4. So that was out, you know, not an option. The persuading part, you know, that's when you're just sitting there hammering at these hens and gobblers, and you're hoping to either piss one of the hens off or talk one of these gobblers off of there. But usually them gobblers aren't going to let another one peel off if, you know, they want to get, you know, have their cake and eat it too. So they're going to kind of work these hens, and then they're going to come back around to these If it's 3 p.m., it's 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to let another one go, take care of them before they have a chance to. So a lot of parameters kind of going through my mind and stuff, and we don't have a decoy. Obviously, we're in the wide open too, and just if you're going to hunt based off curiosity, a decoy cures that curiosity immediately. So all they would do is see where that hen is, that decoy if we have one, and they don't have to come look because they know where that hen is, and it doesn't matter if or when you call because they can look and see.
Right.
So kind of based off of that, that's kind of a little spill on that. We ain't gonna go to it. There's a couple more episodes explaining that deeper. But so I'm sitting here waiting, and now all that comes down to is since I can't move, since I can't do this or that, or create I guess a hypothetical situation where a turkey would want to come look at it. Where did this call here, call backwards, make it leave, make it add a call to it, make it seem like hens are gathering here, something like that. Scratch and not call, make him wonder whether it's a hen or a gobbler. Anything that would increase that intriguing factor of their mind to come over here and take a look was kind of out of the question because there was so many of us. So it really just came down to timing. So in my mind, I was pretty honed in on it doesn't matter when it happens, but I'm not calling until the opportunity is there. I might have to call a lot after that, but I'm not going to jeopardize, kind of boogering this up with these jakes here, or there's a lot of other hens over there. I don't know what their kind of mindset is on kind of going back to that West Virginia hunt I was talking about. I don't know. This was before that West Virginia hunt, by the way. I don't know what those hens are going to do. They're going to go the other way. They're going to walk. They could run over here too. So we'd be, eating biscuits by the time they got here, later on. But I didn't know that at the time. So in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to wait. Our best shot at this point is let these turkeys work this bottom. They're going back and forth. They're hammering. These hens are going back and forth. I want to say these hens these jakes are, kind of Jake yelping back at them and stuff. And I think there's more jakes in this group. They go back and forth a little bit. They're working now to my left. I'd say they entered the bottom around my 10 to 11 o'clock. They're now at least 9, and they're working towards 8, kind of going back and back counterclockwise. And I think y'all can see them.
No, we can't.
But y'all can't.
Mm-mm.
So that's when y'all were getting a little ticked off at me, it seemed.
Right. And the main thing I remember is like at one point you did call, and me and Buchanan had been waiting for you to call for an hour and a half, and we jumped right in.
Oh, yeah.
We thought.
I was over there dogging him.
Yeah.
Like,
what are you doing?
Obviously I'm not going to call because I can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I'm like, he's got to be looking at the, because you can, like you said, you can hear him scratching, you can hear him clucking, whatever. I was like, what on? I was dumbfounded. I was like, is he asleep? Because we didn't sleep that night.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, is he asleep over there? What on earth is going on?
Mm-hmm.
But which was cool after the hunt for you to explain.
Oh, yeah.
You could see all this stuff. Yeah. I mean, we were both dogging Hunter, like, because me and you have hunted with him enough that we kind of can course how his mind's thinking and things like that. Know when to be patient, when to kind of say something to Hunter about like, all right, what are we doing?
Right. And I was generally, we're concerned. Like,
right. We're all also 20 yards apart.
There ain't no way of communicating.
We can't communicate, period. And I mean, that was just. I think that's why it seemed like it was such a long hunt. Yeah. Aside from everything, just all the activity, the simply not speaking to one another, not signing language and nothing to each other, not having a clue what's going on from the other people's perspectives, which was fun all at the same time. But after a while, we were kind of like, okay, somebody do something,
Yeah, because at that time, too, like you said, we couldn't talk back. I was, and I knew how far apart we are. I was wondering, like, I was concerned, like, why didn't Hunter call? And then it would change to, well, I wonder if he's wanting, because you're between me and the turkeys. I changed. I wonder if he wants me to call. And I'm like, well, I can't see the turkeys. I don't know what they're doing. They could be coming in right now towards Hunter. And if I call, they're going to check up. The whole So it was your mind's going 100 different directions because you don't know what's going on.
And I'm considering that y'all might not, but I think y'all can see them. I thought we were on the same plane. Come to find out, I was a little lower than y'all, which would not make sense. You'd think, well, they're higher than you ever, but you couldn't. I mean, there was just enough thick stuff where you couldn't, like where the leaves started on the trees, what little leaves there were. I mean, there's a fine line between where Seals was sitting and those leaves and where I was sitting and those leaves. I was under them and I could see it, and he was over them and he couldn't see them. Buchanan was in some thick stuff. I remember that.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, he couldn't. He could see the Jakes better than probably all of us because he was kind of turned that way. And then, Chase, you had the camera, and I don't know if you meant to, but you accidentally got a couple clips of them going back and forth in the bottom.
Really?
I think you were trying to film the Jakes, and you didn't know it. And if you didn't know where to look, I don't know if you'd see them, but they were back there in that back corner, the top right corner of the frame a couple times. But so pretty much I waited and waited and waited, and right about when I was like they're about to be past us and we're going to have to kind of call them back, I gave it a couple yelps. But I was sitting there and I could tell which ones were strutting, which ones were gobblers, which ones were hens or Jakes or hens. I think the ones, a lot of hens stayed back there towards the end. Everything was in front of them. These were kind of co-mingling in between each other. And all of a sudden, the opportunity I was looking for was let a subordinate gobbler, let that subordinate gobbler get in the back. Once the subordinate gobbler's in the back, and I'm saying subordinate, saying a non-strutter. There was like one that would strut the whole time. I don't think he ever broke. And then there was one who would strut a little bit, and then there was one or two more that I never saw strut. I could tell they were bigger turkeys, black, bodies and stuff. They were a lot of times just pecking around with the hens and stuff, and then those, the strutters would kind of work the whole group necessarily. But collectively, they're moving backwards. They're going counterclockwise on me. They started at 10. They started by 11, 10, 9. Got to 8, and then once they start getting towards 7, kind of behind me, I'll wait till these gobblers are on the right side of the flock necessarily. And once that subordinate gobbler got in the back, I let a couple calls out. And the point being to that was to assure that there was nothing that would kind of stop him from slipping backwards. Kind of just stop and let them move on. Called one time, they answered, I think, and then so it kind of assured me that they at least can hear me. Let that ride a second, call it again, and then that one stopped. And I'm thinking, this might work at this point because they were still moving, strutting around, and he stopped, kind of periscoping.
Right.
And it's almost like I can put myself in his mindset of him thinking, like he's weighing these options. If he was in front of these gobblers and try to do that, he knows not today. They're going to cut him off and push him just like a hen. But him being in the back, I can just see him looking back and forth, going like they're still moving, and if I don't, cause a scene, I can kind of slip on over here, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, he peeled off. I mean, he stopped. He almost just waited and waited and waited and let those other ones move on, and once those other ones moved on, 2 minutes tops. I mean, 2 turkey hunt minutes. They're really probably 45 seconds.
Right.
Let them ease on, and he started it's almost like he took 2 steps back and just kind of slipped on back. And I watched it, but I had an eye for it. That's what I was hoping would happen. And when I called, it was kind of like called one time. He looked up. I waited until I knew he was thinking about it. He picked a couple more times. Call one more time, to where he doesn't necessarily know if he's up. If his head's up and he's looking, and you call, he can kind of pinpoint you. And I can't see like a turkey, but I mean, I don't know that he can't see all the way past me and know that something might be up. Right. So I like to call if their head's down, they're scratching, there's noise. So they don't necessarily know exactly where it came from, but they know the vicinity, and they're going to have to walk over there to look at it. That's the curiosity part.
Right.
So a couple of times there, waited till there was scratching going on and stuff. And sometimes I'll wait if they're strutting, if they turn around and the fan's blocking, so the sound kind of comes around them. Turkeys can pinpoint really, really good. They can still pick your tree, but it's just enough where they still got to come look. Right. So 2 calls max right there. Was just the timing of it. It was perfect, or needed to be perfect. I think it was successful, so it worked. But you gotta really time it right if you're gonna do that. Luckily, Star started the line at that point. He peeled off, kind of came back. I'm watching this turkey tell us a long beard pretty quickly. I can see a beard. He's closing in. And I would say these turkeys were over 100 yards when I first called. Not much further, 125, 130 maybe. He cuts it down to 75. He's starting to look around and stuff. And, I'm not calling anymore at this point. I think eventually he probably got to, I'd say 50. And he's looking pretty hard. And he's kind of just, he thinks he's separated from this flock at this point. Right. It's one satellite gobbler, one by himself. It worked, to a T. He stopped, those moved on. He just kind of eased them back, And I don't know if the other ones cared. After I stopped calling, they didn't even think about it. But he kept moving on, and apparently the other ones finally saw him because they start coming in after him. And he's closing in about 50 right at that point. And so I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know who can see, who cannot see, if I'm even supposed to shoot. I don't want to shoot and Seals be, have his red dot on one's neck and I shoot it out from under him or something. I don't really know. And then, so I keep on letting him come on, because these other ones are coming now. Come to find out, Buchanan, I don't think saw the one peel off, because he was waiting on those other two to come, because he mentioned there was only two. Those two more ran in behind him. And I don't know if he ever saw the first one coming.
Right.
Because I want to say he called it a time or something like that. While this one's at like 70-ish coming in. I'm like, ooh, that's when I thought it was you, and I was about to. I was like, Chase, I swear, if you, because I knew whoever was calling definitely didn't see this one. And then that kind of made me think, look up and see what the other ones are doing. The other ones were kind of walking this way at that point.
Right.
And so I guarantee you, I'm not going to speak for him, but he saw those other two kind of walking leaving those hens for a second. He was trying to pull them over here. He just didn't know one was about to walk up anyways. But yeah, so this one's coming, and it's coming. It gets behind some thick stuff. I mean, like vines and tree, like not a big tree, but a bunch of vines collecting, around it, to where I'm not able to really see. And this tree's about 25, 30 yards. So when it walks out, he walks behind it about 40. Mm-hmm. And then he does what turkeys do. They get behind that tree and walk right at you, and you're like, he's either going to pop out at 60 on the right or at 14 yards in front of me on the left. And I don't know which one. I just got to be ready for both. So I'm sitting there ready, and he pops out. I think it was to the left of the tree, winds up being, kind of comes under a hanging branch, sticks his head up. And these other ones are getting pretty close at this point. But they kind of surpassed him from my angle. And he's poking that head up and kind of looking around, and I think he's pretty close to me. I mean, he's within 20, I'd say. Edging, I don't know, he might be 17, 20, I don't know. But I'm sitting there thinking, like, if somebody's going to shoot him, they better hurry up. And so finally I was like, I'll do the deed, I guess. Luckily so, because I don't know if anybody else was able to, get ready in time. And then those other ones just kind of hung around and started hopping on him. And I start laying down. I have no idea where Seals is at this point. Yeah. I don't know where. I think Chase is Buchanan still. And then I look kind of like lay down, roll over, and I see Chase. I'm like, well, you're not where I thought you were at all.
Yeah.
But there was no other way. There's nothing else you could do. No. It sounded like.
Right.
No, that's what. And I saw Hunter lay down, and all you see is his hand pop up. Like, come on. And again, he didn't know where anybody was, so if he didn't realize that if I would have shot that turkey the second turkey, it would be directly over you.
Oh yeah, right.
We got up. Well, we'll finish the story, and then I can go back to that whole situation. Once we explained to him where he saw where everybody was, he realized like, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The funny thing was, we couldn't tell where Seals was. Right. Because Seals was, we had all shifted from facing to the, north to the, I guess, west, practically. Yeah. If you put it on a compass. Like, we were all now facing what started as our left, our 9 o'clock, And Seals is kind of over here by himself at this point.
He's at 6.
He was supposed to be like in front of everyone. Now he's behind everyone, kind of. Mm-hmm. And me and Buchanan are like, Seals, that turkey's like 20 yards, Seals, come on. And then I finally look up from the viewfinder, and I see there's no chance of Seals shooting this turkey. And so that's when I start easing my gun up. I'm like, Seals, you sure? And Buchanan saying it too and everything. And I finally put my face down, and Buchanan shoots a millisecond before I do. And like right as I'm squeezing, I see the turkey's head just disappear, and I'm too far pulled at that point. It scared me, and it shot and that messed with my head for 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm like sitting here like, did that turkey? Did I shoot?
Happened? Did
I not shoot? Did someone else shoot?
Yeah, I don't think neither of y'all knew the other one shot for the longest time.
And it's funny, later on in the video, we figure that all out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was the most conjumbled.
Everybody just stood up like, what's going on? Like, because I shot a turkey that Buchanan didn't even know about. Seals is like, what in the heck, man? Like,
Seals ain't seen none of it.
Seals ain't seen a turkey yet, I don't think.
No, that's the first three.
Yeah.
The first I saw, but it's some like. I felt some pressure when I had 3 other guys that were with us saying, "Shoot him, shoot him!" Like, shoot
what turkey?
Shoot what? I don't know what to shoot.
And it was kind of a little knoll. Hunter was sitting on the edge of.
I was on a little bit down,
and so I don't even whenever you saw the turkeys, I don't even know if
I could
saw them for a while, but you
right
had to get
before
up.
Hunter shot, because if I remember right when he came out from behind that tree, he was kind of coming up.
He was starting to come up.
So I do,
and I was right. I was on that come up part, so he was close.
So I do remember like looking over my left shoulder, and I could see the turkey's head, and I could see Hunter getting down. So I was prepared for the shot, but that's after I saw those 3 turkeys. The only other thing I saw was that head popping up and you getting down, and I had zero idea that there was 2 more over there.
Yeah,
and where they would have been and all that,
Right.
And it's kind of like, anytime I get up and I'm turned around like that and I've waited, and there was a tree at my back to begin with, but by the time I shot, I was off a tree, and I'm just in a mid crunch for a good 30 minutes. So I'm like trying to like breathe, like get my feeling back in my legs and stuff, because I've been holding a very, very, very steady position, because that joker did not come over here quickly. He was, slipping. Like a couple back steps, trying to get away, kind of nonchalantly peck around, then he kind of come over here, and he was working this way. I knew if I would have had a little bit of intention in the timing of those calls, I would have just started hammering at him like, hey, come over here. But I knew he heard me. I knew he was trying to not get seen. I knew he was probably in his mind like, if this hen doesn't call anymore, I'm clean. I'm smooth sailing.
Right.
I've escaped all the other ones, because he wasn't going to breed none of them hens. There was like 3 or 4 other ones, I feel like. At least 2 more.
Yeah, he don't see them other 2 coming over there to up on him.
Yeah,
or bring him back to the group. That's what I think they were doing.
They said, no, that's what they were doing. They were saying,
you ain't getting off by yourself. Yeah.
They were. They kind of took off a little vengeance there after him once they realized he had slipped away. And that was an obvious 2-year-old with some less than an inch spurs.
Right.
Good enough for me. He's got a swinging beard. That's full fan. That's all we're there for. But no, it was pretty cool to get there, and Buchanan got pumped. He was
he was fired up,
which was fun, because I didn't know him at this time, so I don't know if he's just gonna be like, all right, cool,
Yeah.
But he was pumped up. Oh yeah, he was high fiving everything, and it was awesome. So it was fun. That was a fun, welcome back to turkey hunting. 0-60 right here, right now, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And kind of overwhelming at times, honestly. It was just so much going on, and it was so cool to see the turkeys' vocalizations here. Pretty natural. We did call a little bit, but I don't. There's a lot of different routes you could have taken there, but I do think that was a really good example of the whole timing part, and when to call versus how good you can call. Because I ain't no world champion caller, but if you call at the right time, a lot of times you get the right frequency at the right time in the right situation, it'll work. And not doing something that you're bad at, there's a lot of opportunity to mess up if you're not good at a particular call and just trying to do it anyway, because that's what you think you're supposed to do, just calling to call and calling to hear yourself or calling to get gobbles. They'll kill some turkeys, but a lot of times it'll, you can't undo it once you mess it up, if that makes sense. Turkey hunting is 100%. It's not 99.5%. You can't do 99.5% correct and expect to kill a turkey. You have to do 100% right everything. They can be very close, and no cigar.
No, I agree.
Happens a lot more than the 100%. Than when you do it right.
Right, and that's the truth. There's a lot, duck hunting and stuff. Not to knock it, you don't get another chance if something doesn't go right. If you they flare on you or something doesn't go perfect. There's a lot of things you can get another chance at, but turkey hunting is very, not only the rest of the day, but probably tomorrow and probably a couple of days after that,
Right.
you ain't got a prayer.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Might as well find you a new one.
yeah. But in a place like this, I don't know what the rules are for this because there's a lot of turkeys there. It's something we're not used to. But no, I mean, the timing was a big essence there, I'd say, and to do it with 4 people and to only call that much, very
Right.
little was, doesn't happen that often. Especially you throw in someone who we've never hunted with. A lot of folks aren't on the same page. A lot of folks I've hunted with several times. I'm still not that fluid with on the same page. Because
And
we didn't say, hey, don't call. Just let one person call. But y'all just know if I'm not calling, there's a reason usually. If I start calling, then it's kind of game on.
Right.
There's a reason for that too. But
yeah,
But we also kind of have understand each other enough that, well, if Chase, it was obviously my morning shoot, we understood that if Chase is on the camera, I'm planning to shoot,
right.
then there's no need for me
Only
to call.
one,
We kind of all take and it all flops around depending on who's shooting or
Right.
whatever. But yeah, I say that most of the time you're gonna for sure be calling.
Right.
But if Chase is running the camera, I may help you out. If I'm running the camera, Chase may help you out. But that morning,
And-
it just
yeah.
Right.
everybody's on the same.
Thank
page.
goodness, because I mean, a lot of because I never called from the moment I saw them. So remember, we mentioned at the roost or the fly down area kind of timing. They know turkeys are over here, but they kind of probably forgotten about that. I don't think none of that them coming over here had anything to do with the call, and that was 30 minutes prior. This was because they stayed in that bottom for a while. A majority of that hour,
Yeah.
I was watching them.
And I saw we only saw them for a
Yeah,
minute and a half.
which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm thinking y'all saw this whole thing, and then I realized like, wait, y'all couldn't see them.
I could hear him,
And-
but that was it.
And the few times that me and Buchanan called when you called, I think we were just trying to sound like a bunch of turkeys because we didn't know how many was over there.
Oh,
we
yeah.
knew it was 3 or 4 gobblers, and we're calling blind.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference in calling blind and calling when you can see them. And you finally called, and I was like, maybe that's him telling
That's
me,
the doors open.
yeah, we need to make some racket finally. All right,
No,
and then I see you like look over at me, and I know that look, and I'm like, yeah, Buchanan don't know that look, and I look over, I'm like, I just kind of like I'm yelping, and I kind of glance over, I'm like, all right,
Uh-oh.
yep, I have done it,
He knows something we don't know.
and that's what I said. All right, it's him now,
I don't think I really called anymore after that. It was
Right.
It was just telling y'all
Yeah,
it's over with.
Yeah.
It's
Let it
done
happen.
deal. It's kind of like the sign seal delivered. If it don't
Right.
work, it's on me. But
And-
let's let it ride and watch what happens. you
and
know?
that was one of the first hunts we've, had a designated
Right.
person on a camera.
right.
So like all this is new to us,
Very
all
new.
at one time.
Mhm.
We had the 360 hunt or the place on Sills' 300-acre place or whatever, and the first time we hunted together, that's the only time we've all
Mhm.
carried a camera, like had a quote unquote camera guy,
Right.
or an individual carrying
That ain't
a
a
camera,
GoPro on a strap of something.
right? And we were just trying to figure it all out at
Mm-hmm.
one time, and it was fun, but it was just confusion.
Yeah.
All in the mix. Like no one knew what was going on, but everyone knew what was going on all at the same time.
But that's kind of that's turkey hunting in a nutshell. Is just organized chaos.
Yes.
100% of the time. It's fun.
Mhm.
And we had to enjoy it with a lot of folks and each other and stuff like that, and had a good time and kind of kicked it off. And then Seals had a timer, I'd say a hunt or two after that, where the chips didn't fall right,
Right.
And then he made up for it towards the middle end of the season. Everything started coming back around, and that's turkey karma, as I call it. It's like you have a banner year, better buckle up next year.
It's
It
gonna be
usually don't
rough.
happen 2 years in a row, and kind of if you have a slow half, I would much rather a slow first half than you just go to wax from the beginning of the half, because I'm getting nervous towards the second half at that
Right.
point. I'm thinking this tide's gonna turn, and I've been blessed here, so I know which way they're gonna go, and usually that's what happens. You start having some bad luck coming at you.
Right.
I had all the bad luck the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
bad luck.
I had it towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like pick your poison, but then Seals is killing them left and right, and I'm over here like I'm mad because everything's going wrong. Towards the in the middle of May, or not mad, but I'm like, this is right. This is how it works.
Yep.
But now it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of other hunts we're going to dive into, and we did hunt together with each other a couple more times, but I think that's it. I think that was it, right?
Mm.
That was the only one we all three hunted on this past year,
I think so.
wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I can't think of nothing. I mean, we hunted in the same camp in Alabama, and I hunted with both of y'all. But as far as us three toting a gun or whatever, that was it.
Yep,
I didn't even think of that either till right now.
Made it count. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anything else y'all want to chime in with before we wrap this story up and hop on some more?
I think we covered as much as we could remember, right?
Yeah, that was definitely one none of the three of us will ever forget.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
I won't. That's for sure.
Yeah. That
Cool hunt.
would be hard to forget.
Heck yeah. Well, listeners, we appreciate y'all listening. Y'all go check out the video we've been talking about. I do encourage y'all to watch both of them. I think by this time we'll have a condensed version of the hunt with a little more explanation, some subtitles and stuff like that. But the raw version of it is going to obviously be on YouTube, and it's got a lot of folks watched it and shared it and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. All killing part aside of turkey hunting, just listening to the turkey vocalizations. It's a morning that doesn't happen often. If you hunt a lot of mornings in turkey woods, you don't get this often. Getting to hear all of this stuff going on at the early part of this hunt was really cool. And if you're from the hardwoods and the bottoms and stuff of Mississippi area, the southeast, really, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, on up into the hollow. I mean, there's a bunch of hollows and stuff, Pennsylvania to Michigan to Wisconsin to Minnesota, all that stuff. It kind of reminds you of those early days of just the first few days of the season where it's just echoes everywhere, and it's really cool. So good to have on hand at least.
Right.
That'll get your juices pumping if nothing else will. I promise you that. So check it out on our YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But we do appreciate those who have subscribed, who have shared it, who have helped us out a lot. We pay attention to that. We know who you are, and we really appreciate y'all helping us out. That goes a long way. That's kind of what drives us, so to speak. Necessarily, I don't think we don't make money off of it or anything like that. We just hope to reach more people. And that's the goal, really, to talk to more folks about turkey hunting.
Yep.
So check it out. Check out all the new things at springlegion.com. Check us out on social media at Spring Legion across the board. So we had one camera die, so better wrap this one up. So appreciate y'all listening to the Spring Legion podcast. We'll see you next week.
Man, I was trying to get you.